All right, buckle up because today's deep dive throws us right into the hilarious and sometimes hair-pulling world of backseat gaming.
A world I'm sure many of you have experienced firsthand, whether you're the one offering advice or on the receiving end.
Oh, absolutely. And to guide us through this digital minefield, we're turning to Mazen Turkmani from Mythry.
Oh, yeah.
He's got over 30 years of gaming experience under his belt, so, he's seen it all. His recent blog post, Backseat Gaming Explained, the good, the bad, and the annoying really caught my eye.
Mithri's a great resource.
Yeah.
He has a knack for breaking down these gaming nuances in a way that's both insightful and relatable.
Right. And he kicks things off by defining backseat gaming in a way that's instantly recognizable. Think of it like this. Remember that feeling when someone's trying to direct you while you're parallel parking, but it's happening during a critical raid in your favorite MMO?
Oh, yeah.
That's backseat gaming. In a nutshell, unsolicited advice commands the works. And the worst part, it can strike anywhere from your couch co-op sessions to the global arena of Twitch streams.
What I find interesting is that Mithri doesn't just stop at the definition. He delves into specific scenarios, drawing examples from games like The Legend of Zelda, where a wrong turn can cost you precious hearts, to the fast-paced, team-oriented battles in League of Legends.
And he even touches on Overcooked, which, let's be honest, is practically engineered to spark some backseat chef commentary. But what really struck me was how he highlights the emotional core of backseat gaming.
It's true. There's a distinct psychology to it when you say. It's not just about knowing the game. It's about that often subconscious urge to feel involved, to influence the outcome, even if you're not holding the controller. It's like that feeling you get, when you're watching a game show with your friends and you just want to shout out the answer. But it's like 100 times stronger with gaming because there's that personal investment.
Precisely. Mithri really unpacks this by suggesting two main drivers behind backseat gaming.
Okay.
The first is that genuine desire to help,
Right.
often rooted in a gamer's own experience.
Right. Like, dude, trust me, I fell for that trap a dozen times.
Exactly. They're trying to save their friend from the same virtual pitfalls they've encountered. But the second driver, and this is where it gets really interesting, is that deeply ingrained belief that I could be doing it better.
Oh, we've all been there. Whether we admit it or not, it's that let me try energy that sometimes bubbles up when you're watching someone else navigate a tricky puzzle or boss fight.
Yeah. And Mithri argues that this drive often stems from a need for control, which I think is a really insightful observation.
Yeah.
When you're watching someone else play, you're not directly dictating the action, but you're still invested in the outcome. So backseat gaming becomes a way to try to exert some influence, even if it's just through verbal suggestions.
It's like your brain is hardwired to offer solutions even when they haven't been requested. But how do you handle this without turning a fun gaming session into a total meltdown?
Well, Mithri surprised me with this one. He suggests that instead of immediately resorting to a mute button mentality, we should consider involving backseat gamers in the decision-making process.
Wait, really? So instead of telling them to zip it, you're saying, okay, team, what should our next move be?
Precisely. He argues that when backseat gamers feel heard, when their opinions are valued, they're less likely to constantly pepper the player with unsolicited advice.
So it's about channeling that backseat energy in a more collaborative direction. I like it, but realistically, you can't always be taking a vote on every single move.
Absolutely. Mithri acknowledges that there will be times when clear boundaries are crucial, especially if you're in the zone and need to focus. He suggests directly communicating your needs. For example, saying something like, hey, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but I really need to concentrate right now.
Right. Sometimes you need to prioritize that laser focus, but he also suggests using humor to diffuse the tension, which I thought was brilliant. After all, gaming is supposed to be fun, right?
Exactly. It's all about striking that balance between engaging with your audience and maintaining control of your own gaming experience.
This reminds me of a hilarious, albeit slightly disastrous experience I had with a friend while playing Dark Souls. He's notorious for backseat gaming, and during this particularly grueling boss battle, he wouldn't stop shouting out commands.
Oh, no. I can only imagine how that went down with Dark Souls.
It was a comedy of errors every time I died, which, let's be honest, was a lot. He'd be all like, you gotta dodge left, then right, then hit it with the fire spell. It was impossible. I finally had to tell him, dude, either let me play or play it yourself.
I think we've all been there. But, that perfectly illustrates one of Mithri's key points. Sometimes the most effective way to handle persistent backseat gaming is to set those firm boundaries, even if it means resorting to a little tough love. But here's where Mithri takes a really interesting turn. He flips the script and suggests that embracing some degree of backseat gaming could actually be beneficial.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this whole embracing backseat gaming concept. How does that even work?
Well, he suggests that instead of always thinking of backseat gaming as like this negative thing, right? We should try thinking about how it could actually help people work together and maybe even make the game more fun, especially when you're playing with friends or streaming.
So instead of stop telling me what to do, it's more like, all right, team, what's the play here?
Yeah. And he uses Overcooked as an example. I mean, what better game is there to prove this point? That game is practically famous for backseat chaos.
Oh, tell me about it. The chicken, it's on fire. Everyone's been there.
Exactly. But Mithri sees something interesting in all that craziness. He says that if you kind of roll with those backseat comments and turn them into a conversation about what to do in the game, it can actually make it more fun for everyone. It becomes less about someone barking orders and more about figuring things out together and laughing along the way.
Now that you mention it, I can definitely see that. You're basically turning something that could be frustrating into like a hilarious team building thing.
Exactly. And this goes back to what we were saying earlier about how backseat gaming is often about wanting control. When people feel like their opinions matter and they're part of reaching a shared goal, they're less likely to keep interrupting.
So we're talking about fostering a gaming environment that's more inclusive and collaborative.
That's it. Mithri suggests that this little change in how we see things, from backseat gaming being something to be avoided to seeing it as a way to connect, could lead to some really positive and honestly more enjoyable gaming experiences for everybody, whether they're right next to you or online.
I love that perspective. It's really about taking that backseat energy and turning it into something good and useful.
He really is. Mithri gives us all a lot to think about, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. This deep dive has really changed how I see backseat gaming. I had no idea. There was so much to it. Big thanks to Mazen Turkmani from Mithri for such a thought-provoking analysis.
He really knows his stuff.
He does. And for everyone listening in today, remember, next time you run into a backseat gamer, try not to hit that mute button right away. Invite them to be part of the team instead. You might just be surprised by what happens. Until next time, game on.